Hello class, I'll be doing my presentation on Minor White. To start with, these are some photos, I believe pre-1945, as his career didn't really get a jump until after World War II. As you can see here, they're all going to be in black and white, obviously. This is a time where color cameras weren't a big thing, and even when they were starting to become bigger and bigger as time went on, Minor White never really used them until like his last collections of images. As you can see here as well, since this is the start of his career, it is very much more amateurish, as there's nothing really too special that comes out of these ones. Moving on here, this is after World War II is when these images were taken in. This is because he had an opportunity. He got a photography job at a museum, and he got to meet a lot of people off of that. Some of the most important people that would define kind of his career and how he took a lot of these photos and how he took these photos. One of those people would be Alfred Stieglitz. He would teach him the theory of equivalence. This would be very apparent in a lot of his photos, just because, especially later on, his photos would all have something deeper than just the surface level image. They wouldn't just be, oh, that's a pretty picture of like a tree branch there. No, there's always something deeper going on within them, and that's why he always took them. Ansel Adams would teach Minor White a system called the zone system. From images back then, he would have to use black and white film. And to develop his images, he would use the zone system so that he would get really, really nice blacks and whites. It was a different thing for film and how they want to get their blacks and their whites produced. Next off would be Edward Wetson. He would teach him his love of nature, and this would be very apparent in his later career as well, just because any image later on would mostly be of landscapes and abstract things in nature were kind of his big thing. All these photos were taken at Point Lobos, which is one of those points that Edward Weston actually taught him about, and these would all be taken here, just part of like his collection here. Next off, he had a real big secret as well. He was actually a gay man at the time, which wasn't acceptable. So these images, he always tried to capture the beauty of men, no matter what it was. What's most interesting here is the image on the left would be from a guy named Tom Murphy. He would have one of his collections be of him. It would be 32 different images of him in different positions while nude for the most part. These were never published at the time just because you couldn't publish these images where they had male genitalia or anything like that, because then that was just illegal at the time. That's just how it was. And he would never actually really reveal these images at all just because it was homosexual. If he got caught being homosexual, he would lose any of his teaching jobs or his position at the museum and all this and that. But this would be one of his major points in his life where this is kind of one of those things where he stepped out of his boundaries. These are much fewer and far between than his regular landscape photos and all such, just because of the nature of the images. It always tried to capture some beauty of men, and these would be kind of his only like human photos where it had a person as one of the subjects in the photo. And while there's a lot more than just these three, this will be like some of the most prominent ones there are, especially of the Tom Murphy on the left. While him being a homosexual wasn't one of his major things for his photography, it was definitely one of his like most famous things, but it was mainly just the landscapes and the abstract natures of images, such as how Alfred taught him the theory of equivalence. There'd be images such as the one in the middle here, where you kind of just take like more out of the picture and you get more of a feeling out of them. Minor White would always try to take a picture that would make someone feel something or get the secondhand feeling of why he took that picture. There's always something more going on with his pictures, no matter what you did with them. This is kind of what drove him to go out to many places. kind of wrapping up with Minor White and all he has done for the photography world, he kind of showed everybody what abstraction can really do in an image. It would show him like a lot of people way more than what was like really thought to be done at the time with abstraction of just anything. It didn't just become like, oh, this is kind of whoa, this is it always had some deeper meaning to it. It would always add something to the image. It would always make you feel something. His theory of equivalence, of course, would be like prominent throughout his career and would kind of like accentuate it a lot more from that, just because a lot of images were just kind of out there, even for a lot of people of his time. And he always just liked to play with people's view of things as well. In the image on the bottom here, the bottom right, it is two images of the same one. This would be a part of one of his collections, and it would be the start and the end, but they would be used interchangeably. At the beginning of the book, it would have the one on the left, and the end of the book, it would have the one on the right. So if you read it upside down, you would continue to look at these images and be like, oh, this is some strange images. But that was just how the nature of his photos. He wanted it to be different. He wanted people to have like different sights and feelings on his photos. If whether you read it backwards or how it's meant to be, or normally, I guess, you would always get some experience, maybe even differing from how the original to backwards would be. And that's kind of his whole goal. He always tried to do something with people's perspectives. He always tried to make something mean more to people. He always tried to give people deeper feelings from his images.